Place your Stanley Cup playoff bets with Sports Interaction. Before the game starts, live in play, or how your favorite player will perform. Doing it right since 1997, Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook. With the most competitive sports odds, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. What is your favorite Stanley Cup playoff moment of all time?
Whew. That's a tough question, man.
Oh, it is. But I think of these things all the time.
What are the parameters? Is it like a game when I was in the building working? Is it when I was a kid? Is it something with historical sort of undertones? Like where are we drawing the line here? What's the criteria to judge this?
Whatever you feel is the best way to answer that question. It could be something that you saw in your childhood in person that you think is just incredible. It could be something that you've researched and you've looked at and you think, you know what, like with all the emotions pouring into this has to be the greatest thing ever. This could be something you've seen in person while working. This could be something you might have even seen this year. It could literally be anything you want.
So what you're saying is there's no criteria.
Yes.
For sure, as a kid, the thing that got me most excited, that stuck with me the longest, was the Leafs playoff run in 1993. Probably this best singular moment that I experienced is they scored in overtime in Game 7 against Detroit. Nikolai Borishevsky, and I was just the right age where that was a big deal. And at that point in time, basically, I'd never seen the Leafs win a playoff series, and I was a kid, so that had my whole neighborhood excited. But that doesn't historically maybe doesn't resonate. But that's something that like sticks in my mind from when I was really young. In my career, probably my favorite cups that I've been around were the Crosby Cups and the Ovechkin Cup. Like for different reasons. Obviously, Crosby 2009, it was an awesome Game 7, 2-1 win at Joe Louis Arena. Crosby unfortunately got a knee injury in that game and was sort of limited, but to see him win that cup after the year before falling short. And then when he won again in 2016, because the Penguins had gone through so much in that 7 years. And then, really that Washington run was something special just because how great that team was, how great Ovechkin's been, and it took them so long to get there. And so those are the ones kind of that stand out in my mind. Maybe not what you're thinking, because it's not exactly moments, but sort of moments seeing those guys with the Stanley Cup, just sort of feels right. I think it's the way we'll feel if we see Nathan McKinnon raise it at some point, or Connor McDavid. You just feel like the best player should get there. And in my career, those are the ones that kind of have been implanted, strongest in my mind.
Those are moments, and those absolutely count. Like, it doesn't matter to me from your perspective if you pull out a memory that like a handful of people watching this podcast or listening to this podcast were not even alive for, which I guess I also fall into that because I wasn't alive in 93, but you get what I mean. Like, that's fine. Your moments and your memories are yours.
Right. Well, and I think that there's something about experiencing a sport when you're a kid that like puts it in your blood forever. And so that's kind of that playoff run. Probably, like, I was already a hockey nut as a young kid, but like that's like it's so strongly imprinted on my brain that, even I got to university, which was many years after 1993, and my friends and I sometimes would watch that old tape that's called The Passion Returns that they made of it. It's corny as all hell, but like, like we'd put that on after a few beers or something every once in a while. Like, it just because you associate those childhood memories as such positive thoughts. And so I think most kids, it can be random stuff. Like, I have a nephew who's a big Canadiens fan, and he lives in Ontario, but it was the Lars Eller 4-goal game, which wasn't, of course, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but just seeing Lars Eller score 4 goals for some reason made him a huge Habs fan. And so, like, that's what I'm sort of talking about. It's almost when you're young, you're not making a rational decision. You're not thinking, I live here, so I should cheer for this team or whatever. Sometimes it's something as random as one crazy game, or in my case, a playoff run that really puts the sport in your blood for good.
I remember following the Tampa Bay Lightning run in 2004. I believe the Canadiens lost to them, I think, in the second round that year.
Yeah.
And with St. Louis, Vinny Le Cavalier, guys like Ruslan Fedotenko, Nikolai Abibulin was in net. They had a couple handful of guys that were just Dave Andrechuk was on that team as well.
He got his cup, at the very end of his career.
Oh, absolutely. Like that run was pretty cool to follow. And like one distinct memory I have is watching game 6 of that Stanley Cup final against the Calgary Flames. And it's going like into double overtime. And not too long after that period started, you see Martin St. Louis put the puck in the net. And like I remember just like watching it alone and just being so excited. I like ran from my couch and like jumped into like one of the walls in the basement. Like I was like celebrating like I was one of those hockey players on the ice. And like I'm not a Lightning fan, I'm not a Flames fan. I didn't have any real affinity to those two teams, but I just remember loving that moment so much and just thinking, wow, like this is incredible. So that's like that. I wouldn't say it might not be the moment, but like that's one of my favorite like Stanley Cup playoff moments. And to your point, like when you're a kid, you're not making the most rational decisions or whatever. You tend to just
like what you like.
Super excited.
You just like what you like. Like you don't have to explain it. You're a kid.
Absolutely. One other moment that I have been able to really appreciate with time, even if I wasn't watching it live in the moment, but every time I watch it on YouTube, I feel really choked up. Like I literally pulled it up on YouTube and I got choked up the other day, is Raymond Bourque lifting the Stanley Cup after winning it with Colorado in 2001. Like that is one of the greatest sporting moments ever captured on tape, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And I literally got choked up hearing like Gary Thorne describe the whole moment. He is a genius. I love Gary Thorne. I'm a big fan.
What people might forget is Bourque. Look, he probably would have played in his whole career as a Bruin, except obviously he wanted to win his cup. He authorizes a trade the year before to Colorado, and they fall short, and he sticks around for one more year, and they win it in 2001 finally in a Game 7. So, talk about having to push your career to the farthest, stretch it as far as you possibly can before winning. And, I imagine like had Jerome McGinley, for example, won a cup after leaving Calgary, it would have been a similar feeling, right? Like Jerome had such a tremendous career as a Flame. I think all things being equal might have been a career Flame, but, you got towards the end there and saw that probably where the organization was heading, you weren't going to have a chance to win. And that, that can be a tough call for a player. And, there's so many good teams. Like you give any player, you can say you just pick the team you go on. Like you're still not necessarily picking the team that's going to win the cup. So, what a moment that was for Bourque. I'm a sucker for the older player who finally gets his Stanley Cup thing. I love the cup pass line. Usually goes from the captain to that player. Whoever's waited the longest. Pretty special moment there with Joe Sakic and Ray Bourque back in 2001.
Now it's making me think of every team that's left in the Stanley Cup playoffs for that cut pass line. Like who on each team is like most deserving to have the cup first? We don't have to like rehash it like entirely if we don't want to. We have so many other things we want to get to on the CJ show. But like, does Corey Perry get the cup first if Tampa wins?
He probably does because he's won one early in his career, but it was in 2007, right? Like he was. Like every player says that wins it early. He's like, I thought I was going to be there every year. Well, he's also lost the last 2 cups against Tampa. So there's some sort of Marian Hossa-like vibes to his story. And so I could see him being the first for Tampa. The Rangers, I don't know. They don't, I mean, it could be someone like Panarin but they haven't had as many. They don't have like a grizzled veteran guy. Maybe Ryan Reeves, I suppose, could be their pick. I haven't thought of this yet. What's that?
Chris Kreider.
Yeah. I mean, again, those guys are more mid-career guys to me. Like they're not right at the end, whereas Perry, I know he signed next season, but he's truly at the end of his career. So he fits the bill. It might be someone like Mike Smith in Edmonton. If they were to ever come back, I mean, he's right at the end of his career. Colorado, it could be Cogliano. Darren Helm, who won it early in his career at Detroit, but probably someone from their fourth line makes a lot of sense. Jack Johnson on their blue line. They do have a few.
Eric Johnson.
I was thinking Jack Johnson as well on their team. I think, Ryan Murray, like they have older players on their roster. So yeah, I mean, look, someone's going to win it. There'll be some emotional moment. I mean, I'm telling you, that's one of my favorite things each year is watching the cup pass. Just, what order they go in, what the players are saying to each other. I mean, that's why we watched this whole 2 months, really, is that's the culmination, the cherry on the top of it all.